Welcome to the SEO.co Search Engine Optimization Podcast. Digital marketing essentials and next level tactics. From offsite and on-site optimization to persuasive selling and everything in between. You'll learn actionable tips on what it takes to outright and outrank your competition. Now, here's your host, Timothy Carter.
Thanks for joining me on the podcast. Today we're going to talk about the one thing holding most SEOs back from success. You know, SEOs like myself are typically forced to juggle multiple responsibilities at once. Depending on the size and scope of our teams, we're in charge of planning strategies, creating content, making technical changes, doing publisher outreach, nurturing our campaigns, and even following up with measurement and analysis. All of these things have separate best practices and mistakes to avoid, and we do our best to adhere and avoid them all. For the most part, missing one of these best practices isn't the end of the world. After all, it's only a small piece in the bigger SEO puzzle. But there's one general principle, one major factor for success that permeates all of these areas simultaneously. And if you don't adhere to it, your entire campaign could end up failing, and failing miserably. That is the willingness to adapt. In every area SEO, you need to be willing to adapt. The optimization world is in a constant state of flux, both internal and external factors affecting your performance. As I mentioned in our previous podcast episode, Google changes its algorithm all the time, essentially changing the rules of the game. New technologies emerge, and consumer behaviors change. Internally, your different efforts and experiments will bear out different effects on your results as well, and different stages of SEO development require different user inputs to keep momentum going. On top of that, your competitors are going to be making moves that may eclipse your strategy or offer better alternatives. So it's exhausting to keep up with all these changes, but you have to, if you want to succeed. If you stay in one place too long, you'll get left in the dust in the SEO world. And really in anything in general when you're competing. So why is it that so many SEOs have a hard time adapting? Well, one of the biggest influencers in preventing SEOs from adapting, is a sense of complacency. After a few months of serious efforts, best case scenario, you'll start to see some of the great results from your campaign. Traffic and visibility will be up, and you'll start breaking into positive ROI territory. From there, you can repeat the same tactics and actions to see similar results. For the most part, this is good. Predictable, measurable results are something every business wants, but it can ignore your true potential. You may be seeing a high ROI with your current efforts, but it can always be higher. And to get there, you have to change. Then there's also long-term focus. Most SEO peoples realize that SEO is a long-term strategy, which is good, but it can also have a limiting effect on what you're willing to change and when willing to change, and when you're willing to change it. For example, let's say you're launching a new content strategy, and after a month, you don't see any significant changes. Did you give this change a long enough time to truly settle in and start bearing fruit? Well, this is a hard question to answer definitively. So give it another month, and another, and another. And before you know it, it's the new normal, and you have no real way of breaking out. So the fear of failure limits people. Experimentation is vitally important in the marketing world as a driving force for new strategies, new directions, and eventually new heights in visibility and sales. But it can also be scary. Making a change means a possibility for amazing new results, but an equal possibility for crushing failure. If you're afraid of this failure, or if you feel like the risk isn't worth it, you aren't going to want to try anything new. Your first responsibility here is to begin accepting the fact that failure is an important part of the marketing process. Nobody becomes successful without first experiencing failure, and it's not a bad thing. Of course, it may be hard to adapt if you don't know how to adapt in the first place. You might understand that your competitor recently overtook you in the search position for a critical keyword term, but you have no idea what to do about it from there. Generating new ideas for a campaign is hard, so you have to commit yourself to the process if you're going to do it. Talk to other members of your team, read SEO news sources regularly, and look to your competitors and contemporaries for inspiration. There are a lot of ideas out there, and you can make them your own. But probably one of the most devastating obstacles to success adaptation is an environment where that adaptation isn't encouraged, or even worse, is frowned upon. If you're a team member that's under a director with a traditional, borderline stubborn mindset, you may not have the opportunity to see any of your ideas come to fruition. Unfortunately, there isn't much you can do here except research your ideas as thoroughly as possible and spell out the exact benefits your recommended changes are projected to have. Well, there are many reasons why it's hard to remain flexible and adaptive as an SEO, but with rare exceptions, they're all within your control. A bit of extra focus, discipline, and priority in adaptation should be all you need to overcome the most common barriers to success. At every stage of your campaign's development, on a monthly basis at least, you should be asking what's changed, what metric do I need to be looking at, what do I need to change to continue seeing the level of success, or self-correct what has been going wrong to date. Do this and you'll manage to keep your business ahead of the curve in your development and your marketing growth. And that's it for today's episode. If you have any questions and need some help with your on-site SEO, come on over to SEO.co and schedule a time to have a free consultation. Learn how we can help you scale your ability to outwrite and outrank your competition.
Thank you for joining us on the SEO.co podcast. We appreciate your time. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show, and visit SEO.co for more resources based on today's topic, as well as access to more podcast episodes to help you improve your site's long-term SEO success.